Thank you very much for coming this morning to the first Birth Talk of Deloitte here at the event. My name is Edward Moore, and I'm a partner at cyber partner at Deloitte, based in Madrid, at the EMEA Cybersphere Center, also known as ECC. And this is where we provide our cybersecurity managed services to our clients globally. With me this morning is Gregory Cardier.
Thank you, Ed. Nice to meet you. So I'm Gregory Cardier. I lead the pre-sales team as a VP of pre-sales at CrowdStrike. So thank you very much for welcoming me. I'm based out of France and really happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So the title of this morning's talk is Outsmarting Adversaries at the Speed of AI and the Scale of Cloud. And for this, Gregory and I are going to have a conversation around the unique cyber challenges facing the telecom sector in an AI-driven cloud scale world. So, over to me.
Yeah, thank you, Ed.
So I've got a number of questions here, Gregory.
Yeah.
We'll start with defending at speed and scale. So, how does the Deloitte CrowdStrike Alliance specifically enable organizations to defend against AI-driven threats at the necessary speed and scale, particularly across their complex cloud, 5G, and network environments?
That's a tough question. I don't know if you've seen that, but we just released a report that we call the Global Threat Report, and more or less it's a state of the business as we see it. So CrowdStrike, very much like what Deloitte do, we do incident response, we provide defense capabilities, we have a fairly broad coverage in terms of sensor that we deploy across a wide variety of telcos, but also other critical infrastructures. And what we've seen is a couple of things, right? The first is we've seen a decrease of the time for which a hacker would get in an infrastructure, and it's heavily influenced by AI. So if you think about like numbers, today it takes on average 27 minutes from an offender to get in, and the actually shortest time to get there was 29 seconds. So if you think about that problem, really is like how AI would be able to help you to be able to do a certain number of things. The first is how do we eventually assess what is kind of in the environment, what do you see? And I think you, through your assessment, and us through the tool we provide, are really able to do that. The second is there a way to proactively prevent these type of things and eventually detect if prevention would be too high? So that's kind of where we are right now. We see that across all sort of critical infrastructures, but I think the numbers are pretty terrifying.
Okay, advance at speed. Thank you. And then looking at AI threats and telco infrastructure, the telecom sector operates vast, complex networks and critical infrastructure, with now increasingly they're leveraging AI and cloud. So the question is, how is AI fundamentally changing the cyber threat landscape specifically for telecoms operators, and what new attack vectors should they be more concerned about?
I think there are a couple of angles, right? The first is whenever you think about the telco world, and you see it at the Congress, right? Speed, innovation is absolutely key. And there is no way for telcos to not actually adopt AI today. The problem is it's a fundamental issue. If you think about what we recently seen from different hackers, for example, Lamhunt is the last one. What they do is they actually just put a piece of malware that actually will get in your infrastructure and eventually use your own LLM and your own AI to actually progress inside of the environments. So the question really is like, how do you secure this, right? How do you have like the right tool, methodologies, and so on? Mm-hmm. And how do you eventually prevent user to do what we call shadow AI today? Because that's a really key topic. So that's one angle. It's like protecting your AI, providing people that get into your infrastructure yourself. The second angle, which is probably as scary, is whenever you think about AI, it's like the use of SaaS services and so on. We've seen about 46% increase in terms of the number of attacks related to cloud in general. But if you think about the type of people that are relying on these services now, it's an increase of 266% of state-sponsored organization actually relying on this cloud infrastructure, hacking this cloud infrastructure, and hacking the LLMs. So that's kind of the two trends that we see. The question is, we see a shift in terms of who is actually abusing these systems and how often we see it be used.
Well, thank you. So then let's have a look at the practical AI hacking and mitigation for telcos. So kind of two questions here. Can you share a practical, perhaps even hypothetical, but realistic example of an AI-powered attack that could specifically target a telecoms network, its services and its vast customer data? And secondly, what are the immediate and actionable steps a telco could take to detect and mitigate this risk?
I think it's difficult to go and name people in that space, right? But what I can again give you is a couple of hints. We've seen in the very recent days, again, pace of innovation, speed is really something that is critical for telcos. If we think about this, it means that we need to have set of libraries, open source code integrated to kind of increase the speed of innovation, increase the speed of code. The problem that we have right now is, as we kind of use this set of libraries, they've been heavily influenced by hacking groups, and some people have been injecting codes inside of this infrastructure. So that's something that is absolutely a problem that we see more commonly that we ever hoped it will be. We've seen last year a very nasty one influencing one of the core libraries on Linux. Mm-hmm. We've seen also recently an infection in November last year of the NPM packages. So we got like different type of worm that exists instead of technique that exist that have an incredible impact on organization. So that's one, right? So this notion of supply chain attacks is really a problem. What we also see as part of these supply chain attacks is kind of, what about your provider? What about the supplier of the world, the firewall providers in the world, and so on, that are critical for protecting your telco infrastructure? What we sadly see as well is a clear increase in the number of flows that we see in the code of this infrastructure. So you've seen the number, like numerous CVEs that have been created these years. The problem that we see also, even if there is an increase of CVEs by roughly 40%, what we see that is more problematic is in 2/3 of the cases, they are exploited before found. And in half of the cases, they are actually used by state-sponsored organizations. So there's been a very interesting shift in the market in terms of how different set of state-sponsored nexus are actually getting in the environments. And the question is like, how do we find and how we detect them at speed, knowing that it can take, again, 30 minutes maximum for them to kind of get in and pivot. So that has been our job for the last year. So just that's an example, like being very practical. The reason why they've been able to go so fast at finding these threats is because they've been able to build exploit and write exploits on these found CVEs in a matter of a day or two. So the pace of development, and that's a very clear trend that we've seen and an acceleration we've seen, is with the development of these new AI agents, like built for hackers for their own means. Finding threats is getting faster and faster. Exploiting threats is becoming faster and faster. And so you're going to see, and there is a reason why we have so many CVEs now that are out in the wild, and that's crazy increase, because we are going to see more and more of it.
Yeah. So carrying on from threats, risks, and the attacks you've seen, let's look at building future-proof resilience. Beyond immediate threat response, what are the critical elements for telcos to build long-term cyber resilience and future-proof their operations against evolving AI threats, especially as they continue to roll out 5G, 6G, edge computing, and integrate more AI into their own services?
I think for this answer, I'd like a bit of your opinion as well, right? Because we come from a stance where we do a lot on AR, we do a lot of this, and we eventually protect some of the biggest telcos in the world, but also the hardware supplier in the world. What we do is just like we provide threat intelligence feed, we provide this type of insights based on the learnings we have. But what we see very heavily or very commonly right now is it's not about the technology only, right? What if one of the biggest trends of 2025 has been invasion of defense, invasion of firewalls, invasion of endpoints, invasion of the common IDS, IPS? We need to think about and rethink about how we design our services, our product, and so on. You are in a very unique position to comment about that because you have a very innovative product. So I will probably just say, we as a vendor are providing the tools to kind of think about there are different threats that are kind of hacking telcos today. We want to make sure that we cover them, right? So for this reason, we built kind of what we call next-gen SIM products, which are a set of products that we like integrate with kind of edge devices to make sure that we kind of secure them. The second is like we got our own sensor. We rely on kind of getting the logs from AI. We've been releasing a couple of AI-based products. We also see a change in the world, right? When if you think about the shift of paradigm from having a kind of SASE gateway type of things to kind of how do we secure the browser? How do we secure kind of close to the user and close to what the data that they access and kind of how we control this? So that's a shift that we see. But the reality is it's going to be about the services. So maybe you can also share what you have been building there, because I can be as good as the product that we provide, but also how are you going to be able to kind of...
Well, funny you should say that. I have a slide here to explain my response. So Deloitte works with a lot of clients, okay, and they understand that each client has a different starting point. Some clients are more mature, so it's important to understand the maturity and the complexity of clients. Well, clients see Deloitte as an advisor and someone who can manage delivery and governance in complex environments without causing any client disruption within their own environments. Clients just don't want a technology solution. They want someone to advise on the best way of implementing and operating that solution. So Deloitte and Crowdstrike, working together as acting as a force multiplier for the advisory, the implementation and the operate of technical solutions within client environments. To assist us in these conversations and journey with the clients, Deloitte has collaborated with Crowdstrike to develop a number of proactive assessments that will allow us or give us an entry point into clients so we understand the clients, their maturity, and ultimately allow us to provide a future-proof solution for them. These assessment capabilities are listed here. If I just push my chair back a little bit further, and they range from endpoint compromise assessments to cloud security health checks. And this is something that Crowdstrike and Deloitte have been offering to the clients for the last year or so. And if anybody would like an understanding of these assessment capabilities, and please feel free to talk to Gregory and I after the talk is finished. So I'm sure everybody's taken a lot away from this short, albeit informative talk this morning. However, I'll summarize some of the key things that you've mentioned that have emerged from the conversation. So shadow AI. So the use of shadow AI by hackers to assess access into infrastructure, it's more prominent than ever before, correct?
And it's going to keep on increasing for at least the next foreseeable future, because there is no good protection mechanism in place, even if there is some technology capabilities today.
Yeah. Speed of attacks and attackers is under a minute now.
Yeah, so 27 seconds for the fastest, and the first lateral movement is 27 minutes on average, even on very secure infrastructures.
Okay, and perhaps one of the most alarming points is the adoption and operational use of AI by state-sponsored groups or actors.
Absolutely, and again, that is for me the biggest trend, and probably a transformative trend, especially for critical infrastructure, forcing us to rethink about all of its services. So yeah, absolutely, yes, said.
Well, okay, that concludes the booth talk. Thank you very much, Gregory. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for joining us.
For those interested in diving deeper on Deloitte services, then please encourage you to visit www.deloitte.com/MXDR. Gregory?
Join us on crowdstrike.com. We got a lot of materials, webinar, and all of the insight that I've provided and the report available to download.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ted.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, Gregory.
Thank you.